Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Charlotte, and today I want to share with you my experience studying for the ASTB and what brought me to it. Last August, I enlisted in the U.S. Navy Reserves as an air crewman, and I was supposed to go to boot camp in June, but when March came around, I decided that I really wanted to be a naval flight officer instead, so I started dual processing to submit an officer application. I took the ASTB in late March, submitted my application in April, and I'm still waiting to hear back. It's going to be next month. I'm super excited, but also quite nervous. If I do get selected, I will be going to OCS in Rhode Island in August. Otherwise, I will be going to boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois. As of now, I don't have any military experience besides taking the ASVAB, ASTB, and doing all the paperwork. I'm working as a full-time engineer and doing a master's in cybersecurity. I also tried to get my private pilot license. I was able to get through ground school, and I have about 7 hours on my logbook, but that was about a year ago. It was going really slow, but the point is I have a little bit of knowledge in airplanes, but not enough to not study for the ASTB. In this video, we're going to talk about what the ASTB is, who should take it, the format of the exam, scoring, as well as some of the resources that I found to be super helpful. So the ASTB is an exam used by the Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard as a factor in the selection of pilot and flight officer candidates. It is designed to predict a test taker's potential performance during the beginning phases of aviation training. All Navy and Coast Guard officer candidates will take the first 3 sections of the exam, also known as the OAR, Officer Aptitude Rating. Aviation officer candidates and Navy intelligence officer applicants will take the entire test. And since I want to be a naval flight officer, I took all sections of the ASTB. And this is how it goes. First, you will have math skills test, and you'll be given 20 to 30 problems to answer in up to 40 minutes, followed by reading comprehension test, again 20 to 30 problems, and you have up to 30 minutes to answer. And lastly, in the OAR, you have mechanical comprehension test, 20 to 30 problems again, and this time you only have up to 15 minutes to answer. If you're only taking the OAR and not any of the aviation-specific subsections, your test will end here. However, if you're going to take the entire ASTB, coming up next, you'll have Aviation and Nautical Information Test. You have up to 30 problems to answer in up to 15 minutes. The time may seem very short, but the problems themselves are pretty short and it shouldn't take you more than 30 seconds to answer each one of them. Next, we have Naval Aviation Trait Facet Inventory. You'll be given 88 questions to answer, and there is no right or wrong answer, just pick the one that best fits your beliefs. And you may not believe any of the choices to be true because some of them can be pretty negative, but just pick the one that you slightly prefer more. And next we have the performance-based measures subtest. I know a lot of people are super excited for this section of the ASTB because you have a flight simulator and you have a throttle and a joystick, but I was never good at video games or flight sims or any of that, so it was almost a complete nightmare to me. Because there really isn't a way for you to study for this subtest, I won't talk much more about it. If you want more information on this subtest, I highly recommend that you watch Faith by Flight's video linked in the description box. I found it to be super helpful and he does a really awesome job explaining this subtest. And one thing I did differently compared to what he mentioned in the video was that I could not give up on dichotic listening because I couldn't track the drones whatsoever. So if I had given up on dichotic listening, I probably wouldn't have scored anything for this subtest. The spatial appreciation trick introduced by Neil Davis really helped me a bunch, so I highly recommend that you check out his video as well, also linked in the description box. And last in the ASTB, we have biographical information with response verification, or BIRV. I saw a YouTube comment saying that this subtest was removed from the ASTB, but I was definitely asked questions from it, so I believe it's still part of it, and this section is not timed. It's really important to note that the first 4 sections of the ASTB are adaptive, which means the more number of questions you answer correctly, the harder they get. This is designed to measure your skill level more accurately. And this was also why my math and mechanical comprehension tests turned out to be so much harder than any of the ones that I did for practice. The second half of my math test was mostly statistics and probability questions, which you aren't supposed to see so many of, but yeah, it happened. If you run into similar situation on the test, just try your best to get them correctly within 2 minutes, and really try not to spend more than 2 minutes on each problem. If you're scoring 90% or above on your practice exams, I highly recommend that you brush up on more advanced math and mechanical comprehension problems. It's also really important for you to know common unit conversions such as ounces, pounds, inches, yards, etc., and simple constants such as gravitational constant. I also highly recommend that you study for the aviation and nautical information test, even if you have some knowledge in aviation. This section is most easy to study for, definitely a low-hanging fruit, and your hard work will pay off. And next, let's talk about scoring. The 4 scores will be shown to you at the end of your test on the screen, and it will be emailed to you and your recruiter by the exam proctor. From top down, we first have Academic Qualification Rating, or AQR. It ranges from 1 to 9, with a minimum being 5 for pilot and flight officer candidates. It is strongly influenced by scores of Math Skills Test subtest. Pilot Flight Aptitude Rating, or the PFAR. It also ranges from 1 to 9, with a minimum being 6 for pilots. It is strongly influenced by scores of aviation and nautical information and performance-based measures subtest. Because I did so poorly on the PBM, this score was a little lower than I'd like, but I still passed the minimum. Next, we have Flight Officer Flight Aptitude Rating, or the FOFAR. It ranges from 1 to 9 as well, with a minimum being 6 for flight officer applicants. It is strongly influenced by scores of Math Skills Test subtest. And lastly, we have Officer Aptitude Rating, or OAR. It ranges from 20 to 80, and the minimum requirement varies by job. However, the average is around 50, and is calculated from the performance on the first 3 subtests, which are math, reading, and mechanical comprehension. These are some of the resources that helped me a lot. The video from Faith by Flight does an awesome overview of the ASTB with a special focus on the performance-based measures. I'm sorry that I didn't talk too much about it, and I highly recommend that you check out his video. The video by Neil Davis really helped me with spatial appreciation, and you should definitely check it out if you want to ace that section. Barron's Military Flight Aptitude Tests was the study guide that I used to study for the ASTB. I'm not sure that it's the best study guide to get for the ASTB specifically, because when I bought it, I didn't realize it has 3 tests all in one book. If you happen to have a friend or a sibling or someone who's studying for the Air Force or Army test, then this book may be great because you guys can then share. It still contains very good information to brush up on general aviation knowledge and sample exams. But like I said before, my actual exam problems were a lot harder than any of the practice ones that I did. The upside is that the book is relatively short, since 2/3 of it is not applicable to the ASTB, and I only had a week to study for the exam, so it worked out perfectly for me. I was able to go through both of the practice exams as well as all the sections. Lastly, I want to recap some of the points I made throughout the video. First, the OER is made up of the first 3 subtests of the ASTB, which are math, reading, and mechanical comprehension. And the first 4 sections are adaptive, which means the questions keep getting harder as you get them correct. The exam is timed, and you do need to answer a minimum number of questions to pass. However, they don't tell you the number. And because the tests are adaptive, it's super important for you to focus on the correctness of your answers than worry too much about time. I still recommend that you won't spend more than 2 minutes on each problem. And I didn't mention this earlier, but you can't skip nor go back on the exam. Once you select an answer, you'll be brought to the next problem. If you retake the test, the new score will be used regardless if it's better or worse than the previous ones. So the decision of retake is definitely not to be made lightly. What really worked for me was to make a study plan and stick to it. Since I only had 1 week to study for this exam after work, it really alleviated a lot of my pressure. The actual exam questions I had were so much harder than any of the sample practice ones that I did, but being able to get those right definitely made me more confident walking into the test. And you're 50% there if you're confident. Definitely get a good night of sleep and don't drink excessive or any coffee at all before the test. I definitely chugged my cold brew and I really couldn't focus when it came to reading comprehension. So bad choice of mine, but I'm not going to retake. And since my application is submitted already, I can't even retake even if I want to. And last, most important, believe in yourself. I know you can do it. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you were able to take something away. The link to this presentation is in the description box, and I will be more than happy to share my experience with the ASVAB, as well as to walk through a sample math exam. Just leave a comment below and let me know. Thank you again. Bye.